Hey guys, welcome to Chef Grace's Place. Today we have something that you might think doesn't have anything to do with food, but um, we have Erika Benson from Gokce Capital. She sells land. And during the start of the COVID thing, I was really, I've always, been interested in slow food and where my food comes from and stuff. But I think a lot more people are getting into homesteading and also wanting to grow their own food, which means if they're serious about it, they're going to want to purchase their own land. So I was trying to figure out, well, how do I do that? And I came across your channel on YouTube, which is Gokce Capital, right? I'm going to have all the
Yes,
links in the
Gokce, kind of like Dolce, but with a G.
Oh,
Yeah.
sorry. Gold, Goldche. Okay. And you guys do a free land giveaway every year, so definitely
hmm
check out the channel to be able to do that. And you also have really interesting case studies, and you're not just posting videos about what land you have for sale, you're giving great advice, which is why I contacted you guys. Um, so without further ado, it's Erika Benson. um, how
Hi,
did
everyone.
how did you get started in so since the start of the pandemic, I think I've seen about like almost 10 of my Facebook friends become realtors.
Oh,
So
really?
yeah. How how did you guys decide like we're gonna sell like specialize in land as opposed to like houses? And what's
Yeah, so my background's actually in architecture, and my partner in the business, who's also my life partner, we were um, about 2 years ago looking at ways to invest in real estate on the side. At the time, I had a full-time job working in affordable housing. And initially, we thought we were going to buy a house or probably a two or three family house. Um, but given that we were in the New York City area, everything was very expensive. And when we looked at the amount we need to invest versus the cash flow we get out of it, it didn't really seem to make sense. Um, at the same time, we were visiting all 50 states. So we were going through that project and we were looking at all the land across the US and just thinking about how beautiful it was. And somehow we stumbled into land investing through a Google search and we did more research. And it just made sense for us given that we love to travel. We loved being out in the countryside and that land investing was a much more affordable way to get started in real estate investing than, say, buying a multifamily building within the New York City region. And from there it grew.
so when I want to kind of ask you questions more particular to like homesteading.
Mhm.
Um, what if you're trying to look for a piece of land to do that, what are some things that you should look out for and what are some things you should probably like be wary of, like some
Mhm.
mistakes?
So we actually have a long blog post on due diligence items because there are a lot of things you should think about, especially if you want to build and grow crops on a parcel of vacant land. Um, I think just some of the big things you want to really look out for. One would be wetlands. Um, so for a couple reasons. If you have wetland that's actually a federally designated or state designated wetland, you generally can't do much on the area that is designated as a wetland. If someone has already been farming on that part of the land, you may be able to keep doing that, but um, generally we try to avoid any property that has a designated wetland on it. But even if it's not designated, if the property tends to be wet throughout the year or at certain times of the year, that's a big problem for building, for maintaining a dry basement and for protecting your foundation, but it can also be a big problem for growing crops. And I think that another big thing you want to think about if you're going to grow crops is the soil quality on property. So getting a soil test to see whether the soil can support crops, and if it can't, what you would need to do to help make it a little more nutrient rich, or bring in better quality soil in order to grow the crops that you're looking to grow. So those are some of the big things, but other big items you want to look at would be access. So something that a lot of people are maybe not be aware of is there's both physical and legal access. And when you're looking at, in particular, if you're looking at a really rural parcel of land, you may find that there is a physical road that'll get you to the property, but it may not actually be a legal right of way, meaning that it's technically owned by whoever owns the property it's running through. And so that can be a problem for a couple of reasons. One, since it's technically owned by a property owner, they could always put up a gate, and you may not be able to negotiate with them on further access. But also in many jurisdictions, the building department would want a legal road fronting the property before they would let you pull a building permit. And it's generally because they want to make sure that a fire truck can go out there. So that's something. It's not as much a problem if you're in a town or if you're in an area that's a little more built out. But if you're really looking to homestead out somewhere far in the countryside, you'd want to make sure that that road is actually a legal right of way.
Is it easy to get like make a road a legal road, or is that a very complicated process?
So you can, most jurisdictions let you request that a road become a legal road, but again, if you're far out in the middle of nowhere, that may not realistically happen. Usually what you have to do if you're looking at a private road that is owned by other property owners is you have to work with them to get an access easement recorded, which basically gives you legal right to go through their property whenever you'd like. And we have a couple of blog posts on this as well. Often you may have to pay them to get that easement recorded because it is giving you full legal right to go through their property, at least where that road is located. But that's one thing you may need to do. And then there are some like specialty cases sometimes that you can bring to court if you really wanted to say, I really need an easement. It's a necessity, but that depends on the state you're in and what the local laws are. So it's generally speaking a good idea to know that the road that you're using to access the property is a legal right of way before you purchase. It just makes life much easier.
And speaking of laws, so I know like states, states vary a lot in what you can and can't do. What do you think would be like the states that kind of let you do whatever you want, and opposed to like say you want to put a high tunnel up for your crops, or like build some things with like a barn or something. What are the best states to?
Well, in terms of things like barns and like the kind of normal structures you need in order to grow crops, I would think that anywhere, if you're looking, what you really want to do is look for an area that's zoned agricultural, because generally, I mean, zoning varies across the board and it's a county by county thing, but generally, if it's zoned agricultural, they're probably going to allow you to do or build whatever you need to build
Including a house to live in, right?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
So usually an agricultural zoning is both residential and agricultural. So you can build a single family home, and you can also grow crops and raise animals. So that's a good zoning designation to look for if you want a parcel of land to both live on and grow crops and raise animals. And it's a pretty common zoning designation in rural areas, so it shouldn't be too hard to find land zoned that way in most states. If you're looking for areas where there's no zoning at all, um, again, that varies on a county by county basis, but in our experience, we found a lot of counties in West Virginia don't have zoning, although West Virginia may not be the best place to go for agricultural uses. A lot of Western states like Nevada, but that's desert.
Yeah.
Texas has a number of counties without zoning. But you don't necessarily need to be in a location that has no zoning.
Yeah.
There are many counties that have agricultural friendly zoning. You just want to go to the areas that are zoned agricultural.
And what about on like the opposite end of the spectrum? So I lived in Philadelphia for a while, and one of the most interesting things is you were, because of like, olden times, you're still allowed to raise chickens in the
Oh,
city.
okay.
So I was wondering, do you see like any like urban farming, like abandoned warehouses type land things, or um, I mean, I see we were people that I knew that were doing like raising chickens in their brownstones or whatever. Obviously that's not a big piece of land, but they got they did some cool things with it. They had enough for themselves. So I don't think if you want to grow your own food, you don't necessarily have to have a large piece of land.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, and I've seen, so I'm not actually an expert in farming, but I've certainly seen a lot of stories of people who are basically growing enough crops to more or less take care of their needs on properties that are less than an acre or an acre. And so I don't deal as much in urban parcels, but I do know that there have been, even in New York City, people who raise chickens on the rooftop, things like that. And I found that when I talk to various zoning counties, county zoning departments, they tend to be a little more lenient when it comes to chickens. Although this is going to vary from jurisdiction to jurisdiction, but a lot of areas may allow you to keep not like 30 chickens, but
Not a chicken farm, but enough to have some eggs through the morning.
But if they're kept in an enclosure and you have, maybe 5 of them, even in like a more suburban built up area that's zoned residential, you can sometimes do that. But that, it varies from place to place. So it's always a good idea to call the zoning department and see what they'll allow.
So when you're looking as an investor to purchase land, um, do you ever like envision what the person like sorry, this is how I phrase this question. Like on one of your videos, I think it was the one with the cabin that you found on this piece of land. You have like a ton of buyers. Do you ever like, you're selling the land from the same price. Do you ever look and see like what they're going to use the land for? And does that like help your decision making on like who gets the land?
That's a good question. So when we have a parcel of land that has a lot of interest, we tend to just go on a first come, first serve basis to be fair. We don't want to pick favorites, I
Yeah.
guess. But I think it seems like most of our buyers are interested in either recreational land or they want to do some kind of homesteading. Maybe not a full homestead, but they'd like to build a little house and grow some crops and maybe have a few chickens, something like that. And, or they want a vacation home. And, but every now and then we get some unique stories. Sometimes people just want a parcel of land to put a shed on if they're in the area for skiing often or fishing, and they don't want to lug all their equipment out every time they go out.
Wow.
Sometimes they're willing to
You
buy
know,
a property just to put their equipment on it.
wow.
um, we had someone who was a gold miner once who called us and said he just wanted a parcel of land he could camp on when he was going gold mining.
Is that, they still do that in America?
Yeah, apparently, yes.
Huh. I thought it was the green rush now, not the gold rush.
Yeah.
Um, that's
He
fun.
could have just been pulling my leg too. You never know.
There's some weird people out there. But you know, but he's got a better chance of finding gold than we do. He's looking for it.
But yeah, a lot of folks do want to build some kind of homestead. There's especially now with COVID and a lot of people thinking about moving out of the city. I think there are a lot of people who um, want to get back to the land and learn how to grow some crops and be a little more self-sufficient.
And I was really interested that I didn't realize how cheap like it would be for, one of the problems, me being, I think my generation, I'm 29, a lot of us, we're crushed in student loan debt. We can't afford to buy a house or anything like that. And it sounds like it might actually be cheaper to buy the land, like month to month, like financial wise, if you only have to put $1 down. And then, it was like only a couple $100s a month payment. And then you got to find someone to build your house.
Yeah.
But it sounds like maybe total cost, it might be cheaper than buying a turnkey type of house. When you sell the land, do you have like, you are an architect. Do you have like another business that you build houses for people?
No, I don't do that. Although it would be a good idea. Um, I would say a couple things about buying land and building a house. So, um, I mean, when I was in affordable housing, one thing that a lot of the research does show is one of the most affordable types of housing, of course, would be a mobile home. So it can be cheaper to buy a parcel of land and put a mobile home on it. But you do have to be really careful because um, there are a lot of things you need to look into with vacant land. It's not like when you buy a house, you know that you're getting a house, that you can live on it, you know what you can do with that parcel. If it's a vacant parcel of land, there are a lot of things that may make the property not buildable or very difficult to build on. So you just want to make sure that you know how to do all the proper due diligence to get a parcel that you can actually place a house on. If you're looking at a mobile home, you do want to be careful because unfortunately many areas in their zoning ordinances do not allow mobile homes, or they're not really mobile homes these days, manufactured homes. But so that's one thing you want to be careful about. And if you're looking to build a like ground up stick built house, that can actually be more expensive in the end than buying, you know, an older home on the market. So you want to be careful. Um, the big thing though is making sure that you know all the due diligence items you want to look at when buying land. And um, if you were to actually build the house yourself, spend some time talking to contractors and really make sure that you have an idea or a set of plans that are going to be relatively inexpensive to build, because the cost can add up. So it can be cheaper than buying a house on the market, but you do need to do a lot more work and research than if you were to just go and buy an older home in a less expensive neighborhood. But the plus side is you have more control over what you're building. So if you have, like, a lot of people who build their own homes have something really specific that they want to do with the property that you're not necessarily going to be able to find on the market. So like, for example, one area that we buy properties in on a fairly regular basis is Valencia County, New Mexico. And there's a subdivision out there called Tierra Grande. And it's in a rural area, and it does have an HOA in place, but the HOA allows you to do some unique things. So I know one person out there has done an earthship, and others I think have done earth bale homes. So if you're really interested, an earthship is like, it's a house that's kind of halfway underground. The idea is that it's built in a really sustainable fashion. So a lot of them, they use tires or straw bales
Oh,
to
it's like
build the walls.
geothermal, like it saves you money on heating and
Yeah.
cooling.
Yeah, so the idea is you don't need much in the way of heating and cooling because it's in the earth. A lot of them also collect rainwater and have like a greenhouse installed. Um, it's connected to like the permaculture movement and
Hippies.
yeah.
No, but that is it's a good move. It's a good way to go to be sustainable. So I'm just joking, but yeah, I definitely looked into all that, alternative energy sources and things like that. And I think that's also a benefit of having a homestead and things like that. You can go into wind or solar, or, you don't have to worry about. I Right now I live in an apartment complex in Florida, and I am from New Jersey, and I grew
Yeah.
up in a like a regular town that doesn't have HOA. It's
Mhm.
not. It's very new to me to like have a community that's like it's like a private town basically,
Mhm.
and I hate it. I hate all the rules. This is America. I don't want any rules. I want freedom. So to have they were giving me crap about my plants on my patio, which
Oh, that's a
you
bit
know,
extreme.
yeah. Oh, and I think it's just some like thing where like I think they're suing the people that painted the apartment complex, so they want people to have stuff like away from the walls and stuff. I'm like, I wasn't even here when they did that, so whatever. But I can't wait to not have anyone tell me what to do. So I
Yeah, a lot of people hate HOAs.
yeah, especially because you pay the money. I'm
Yeah.
paying you money to tell me I can't do something. Like, get out of here, you know. But one day that's definitely gonna be like a check on my list is like no HOA. I mean, you still have the town, which I guess is kind of like an HOA, but usually it's you know, they're a lot more lenient.
Yeah.
I remember growing up, someone tried to grow wheat or corn or something on their lawn, and the town was giving them crap for it, but they just did it anyway. Because they wanted to teach their kids like
Mm.
this is where your food comes from. So I respect that. but
Yeah.
it's just funny because they just didn't like the way it looked. But I was like, that's kind of cool. So
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, towns are generally easier to work with, um, but you just want to make sure you don't do anything that is going to generate a lot of complaints, or then they'll probably come after you as well.
yeah,
Mhm.
eh, who cares?
Yeah.
So um, so I know you have to get running soon, but I think one of the last questions I wanted to ask you about is to tell people about your land giveaway and
Yes.
to subscribe to your YouTube channel. So why did you start like deciding, hey, we're gonna give people free land?
Well, it started out as a marketing tactic. So we wanted to grow our YouTube channel, and it was a it was a good way to get people interested in it and subscribing to the YouTube channel. But then we got so many great comments, and people were sharing all of these ideas about what they could do with land. Everything from, of course, farming and building a homestead to ideas for nonprofits, like having a nonprofit where you bring kids who grew up in the city out to the country so they can see countryside and learn how to grow crops, or at least spend a day planting some tomatoes or something like that. Um, some other ideas for helping veterans. So it was just so great to see all of those comments that we decided we wanted to make it a regular thing. So now we do it twice a year, um, usually March and October, and it's just a way to keep the spirit alive, and it's nice to help out at least one person.
Yeah, we need more of
Contribute.
that. That's
Mhm.
awesome. That's you don't see that very often anymore. So it's good that you know, especially in these times, like we need more charity, more helping each other. I feel like there's such a big divide now with especially you see it in Florida a lot because it's a tourist economy. It's
Mhm.
like there's not it's you're either really rich or really poor. It's kind of and it's hard to stay in the middle. So I think what you're doing with that is amazing, and you're giving people a lot of opportunity. So
Yeah, and it's also just nice to hear um, how the idea of owning land can really unlock people's creativity and fuel dreams. And I think it, everyone generally believes in the power of ownership, and that's what we're trying to do is help people acquire land to fuel their dreams.
yeah, it's the American dream, basically. Own your land, own your house, have your family, do some good stuff. Even here, like with the I grow all like vegetables that I can eat. And
Mhm.
I'm right by where the people go come and get their mail or do their laundry.
Mhm.
And all the kids, they just have no idea what the plants are because they've never
Yeah.
seen anything grow. So it's really cool to like and even their parents don't know, but they're not gonna say that they don't know type of thing. And then the kids like, "What's that?" And they have no idea. So it's always fun to bring them over to the patio and show them what's going on. It's fun.
Yeah, that's nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw something in the news that something like 35-40% of Americans have never seen a cow.
I
Um,
remember the first time I saw a cow. Oh my God. I was in France and we went to a dairy farm and I looked at the cow and I went, oh, now I know why it's an insult when people call you a cow. They're so big. And it was like then they showed us the regular cow and then they showed us one that was born like 3 days ago and I was like, that came out of that, I was like, that is huge. Oh my God. You're so big. Even a pig,
Oh yeah.
they're so big. Like, it's crazy.
Yeah, I remember the first time I saw a pig on a farm, I was surprised at just how big they were. You think like the cute little piglets and
No, I mean, I can see how, they say when if like the pig is wild, it'll grow tusks and everything. Like
yeah.
that thing could be scary. Now I know like where all those monster legends come from. Like, wow. But they are delicious, so they're still bacon, so it's okay.
But yeah, I think it's great that there is this movement for people to get back in touch with the land and try to grow a few crops or do a little more to be in touch with the food that we eat and um, be a little more self-sufficient.
And I think it's important because once people learn more about where their food comes from, people don't realize how much you vote with your dollar. Like, there's one thing I get like annoyed with people that are vegan is a lot of them do it because they don't like the way that animals are treated and in factory farming. And it's like, okay, you're not giving your dollar to the factory farm that's, you know, still making so much money because people that can only afford to buy that kind of meat are going to buy that kind of meat. And, but you usually do have the money to, you could take that dollar and put it towards someone who's farming ethically and treating their animals well. And you would be, you would be helping to tilt the scale a little bit rather than withholding your dollar from both people, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Um, that's my argument there. But some people obviously there's other reasons to be a vegan or a vegetarian, but I think if that is your main reason, I think it's more beneficial to help the smaller farm out.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Got a little preachy right there. It happens. Food. I didn't realize until I started doing the YouTube channel like how really like how political like food really is. But it everyone has to eat, so it makes sense.
Yeah. Um, well, I do need to run, unfortunately,
That's all right.
but
Thanks for coming on the channel. Um, I'll make sure to get all the links in the description, including the free land giveaway, because I know a lot of people are going to be interested in that. But also links to all the different blog posts you have about due diligence and things you want to look at with the homestead. And everybody, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. So thanks for coming on, and hopefully you'll be on next time. Maybe we can have you on after you announce like who won.
Sure.
Or something. That'd be fun.
Yeah, if you whenever you'd like me back, I'm always happy to be on. And thank you so much for reaching out.
All right. Bye.
Okay. Bye.